The Season 19 mid-season update for Overwatch 2 is now live, and it comes with the usual set of balancing changes, the core game mode, stadium, and even some specific changes for 6v6. Let's have a look. This must be one of the most anticipated mid-season updates in a while. Not only are people looking forward to that test event for the upcoming hero, Lupa, but for the first time ever we're also getting a second mythic skin this season. And it dropped in a mid-season update, a skin for Junkrat, Cyberfield Junkrat. A lot of people were excited for that one. Now before we dive into the main part of this update, which are the balancing changes of course, let me highlight some of the other things that are in the patch notes and that are coming, well, today or later. First off, there's that whole new lore compendium that they have been talking about, which showcases all of the past lore, or at least most of it. But it should also give us an idea on what we can expect in the future, or at least when we can expect some stuff to happen. Should be interesting. I'll make a whole separate video on that very soon. Now with the mid-season update comes a new limited time game mode that is going to be in the arcade, Spirit Showdown. Now for fans of gun game, the custom game mode, this is going to sound very familiar. Every time you kill someone, or, well, after you get killed twice, you'll switch to a random hero. They have done this before. This event comes with its own rewards and is going to run till November 24th. Between November 20th and November 23rd, Junkrat's loot hunt is going to be back, allowing you to earn 3 loot boxes every day for 3 days. So that's 9 loot boxes in total, in case you hadn't figured that out yet. Another interesting bit of news is that the old progression badges are coming back, but not in the actual game, but rather on a legacy tab that is going to be on the progression page. And your level from Overwatch 1 is also going to move from your normal profile to this legacy tab. There's also a whole list of stadium system changes that they're going to do, but I'm going to come back to those in a few minutes. First, I want to run over all of the core balancing changes, so for 5v5 and 6v6. Diva, extended booster perk. Boosters now deal 100% additional damage. I personally like this one. The previous version of this perk actually added 0.5 seconds to that boost for every target that you hit. But basically made you feel like you were in a pinball machine. You were just kind of going from one target to the other, but not doing that much. I think with the 100% extra damage that you're going to be doing, you're going to have way more control and you're going to have the necessary impact. Hazard, Spy Guard, no longer prevents critical damage. And Violent Leap, the cooldown was reduced from 6 to 5.5 seconds. Oh, Hazard players are not going to like this one. Yeah, sure, you get more mobility, but at what cost? Orisa, Fortify and Terra Surge now only prevent headshot critical damage and not forced crits. Ramata, base health increased from 250 to 275. The Relentless Form perk no longer has a half effectiveness while in Annihilation. I mean, these are pretty nice. Relentless Form adding a full second, even if you're doing your ult instead of the 0.5 it did before, is going to be very interesting. Wrecking Ball, the base armor reduced from 175 to 125. Here we go again, poor hamster. Zarya, the energy converter perk. Energy gains reduced from 3 to 2. Look, I love playing Zarya, especially in her current state, but I get it. That perk was very strong. Moving over to damage, Ashe, the Viper. Secondary fire fall-off range rescaled from 30 to 50 meters to 40 to 60 meters. And then Cassidy, his flashbang, the hinder duration increased from 0.9 to 1.2 seconds. So we're getting a longer range Ashe, watch out Widow, and Cassidy's stun is going to last substantially longer. Echo, Flight, movement acceleration in air increased by 100% when changing directions while flight is active. May, the primary fire, damage per second increased from 100 to 110. Yeah, I'm going to need more holy water. Sojourn, Disruptor Shot, damage per second increased from 80 to 90. Projectile speed increased from 30 to 40. Maximum travel duration reduced from 1 to 0.75 seconds. Well, this is going to make Disruptor Shot a little easier to pull off. Zarba, an upload perk. Stealth duration on successful hack increased from 2 to 3 seconds. Healthy Hacker perk. Time before overhealth degeneration increased from 6 to 10 seconds. Overhealth degeneration increased from 10 to 25. And overhealth granted increased from 50 to 75. Packs can now be picked up at full overhealth to reset the degeneration timer. First off, what? Zarba changes in this economy? Nah, I personally don't know what that 1 extra second for the stealth is going to do. I don't know, not feeling that one, but the whole health pack stuff sounds interesting. It's definitely going to be helpful for Sombras, which makes my life a little more difficult. Support, Brigitte Repair Pack. the cooldown is reduced from 5.5 to 5 seconds. Juno, glide boost. Movement acceleration in air increased by 50% when changing directions while glide boost is active. Kiriko, ultimate cost increased by 8%. I approve of the Brigitte change. It will help her to keep up with the other supports in those moments where she doesn't have a lot of targets to pummel. The Juno change is, well, basically the same thing they did with Echo. You just need to zigzag. And I do get the Kiriko change, but I think 8% might be a little steep. We'll see. Life Reaver, model and hit volume size reduced by 8%. Healing Blossom, Torn Volley. The automatic reload time for the inactive weapon reduced from 2.5 to 2 seconds. Time between weapon swap reduced from 0.25 seconds to 0.125 seconds. Okay, are they shrinking Life Reaver by 8%? I would be so pissed off if they tried to shrink me with 8%. I would still be taller than most people though. I do like the weapon swap stuff. It's going to make his whole rotation feel smoother. Yeah, those were all of the core balancing changes. Now, there's also quite a few 6v6 only changes. So specific for 6v6. So meaning that all of the changes I just listed are also included in 6v6, but these are on top of those. Now, what they're trying to do is to kind of bring back the outliers, in the sense that the heroes that are too strong are getting nerfed and the heroes that were underperforming are getting buffed. Diva, the health reduced from 350 to 300. Defense matrix recharge rate reduced by 15%. Those are some substantial survivability nerfs. I'm saying that 3 times in a row. I had to do 4 takes for that one sentence. Anyways, Doomfist, the best defense. Overall gain per target reduced from 35 to 25 HP. Power block, amount of damage to gain empowered punch increased from 100 to 120. The Junker Queen, base health increased from 425 to 450. Adrenaline Rush, self-healing from wounds damage scaler increased from 1.5 to 175. And Maugar Cardiac Overdrive, the cooldown was reduced from 17 to 15 seconds. Okay, so Doomfist is getting hit with the nerf bat, while the Queen and Maugar are getting some, let's be honest, much needed help in 6v6. Reinhardt, Barrier Field, shield health increased from 1500 to 1800. Winston, the Jump Pack, cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. The old school crew is getting some help. I'm always in for a Rein buff, and that 300 extra shield health is definitely going to help, especially in 6v6. And I really like that Winston change. I often find myself bashing the leave button and dying when that ability is on less than a second cooldown, so yeah, I need this buff. Wrecking Ball, base health reduced from 500 to 475. Adaptive shields overhealth gain per target reduced from 75 to 50. Poor hamster. Good thing he can roll though. Zenyatta, Orb of Discord, now has a cooldown per target. In other words, Zenyatta's Discord Orb is going to work like it does in 5v5, so this is going to be a cooldown. It's the same cooldown, by the way. But yeah, that's all for the core changes, 5v5 and 6v6. Let's move over to Stadium. Now, before I go over the balancing changes, there are a few general changes, system changes that they're doing. Now, in case you watch my videos on a regular basis, thank you very much. I appreciate you. But then you also saw that video I did a few weeks ago, where I outlined all of these changes that they were going to do to Stadium that were in the patch notes, but not in the game. Yeah, that was a bit of a miscommunication with the patch notes and whatnot. Unfortunate, but it happens. However, all of the changes I discussed in that video are actually in this mid-season update. Let me run over all of them. Players are now able to unequip powers on the same round that they are equipped. Powers are locked at the end of the armory timer. HP bars are now displayed for your team in Stadium matches. The hero stat section in the armory has been updated to sort by your highest stat increases. Detailed tooltips for each row in the army hero stats section have been added. Impacted abilities and weapons are displayed in the tooltips. Interact on any tooltip to access the full details screen. There's also a few Stadium combat text changes. Weapon power and ability power are now displayed as 2 separate floating numbers. This feature can be adjusted from the settings. A new setting has been added to adjust the lifetime of floating text. A new setting has been added to display self-healing. This setting is defaulted to off. They're also dynamically adjusting the height of which floating text is displayed to improve the visibility for heroes in melee range. Overkill and overhealing values are now displayed when eliminating an enemy or healing a friendly target. Kill cameras will now display Stadium combat text, and they improved the stability of Stadium combat text on moving targets so it's less distracting. The fact that you can switch your powers within the round is kind of cool, but one thing that I learned since the last time they talked about this is that they will be locked in at the end of the armory timer. So once you go in to the battlefield, those are locked in. You can't change them anymore, but it's definitely going to help you if you did any of those nasty misclicks that we all them to do sometimes. So, not bad. I also like the whole health bar change. I think they should do this in the core game modes, but we've been saying that for ages now. But the thing you're probably most interested in are, of course, the balancing changes. Let's run over them. Tanks. Hazard. Off the wall. Damage decreased to 60 down from 80. Fortress. Damage decreased to 25 down from 40. I think everyone knew that these changes were coming. Wall nerfs. Orisa. Enhanced target sensors. Added 10% attack speed. Added 5% weapon power. Oladele Copter Blades added 15% ability power and added 15% weapon power. F3's Theorem added 25 armor. Hologram Helmet, cost decreased to 9,000 down from 10,000. Damage Sojourn, Hardstock. Damage reduction decreased to 25% down from 50%. Liao's Logistic Data, cost decreased to 10,000 down from 11,000. Cost decreased to 4,000 down from 5,000. Fine-Tune Thrusters, damage reduction increased to 35% up from 25%. Zoom, attack speed increased to 35% up from 25%. Weapon lifesteal increased to 100% up from 50%. Experimental tech, slow increased to 25% up from 15%. Railgun charge increased to 50% up from 33%. Freya. For Freya, Blizzard wants to give her more build variety. Volley à deux, spread of additional bolts reduced by 60%. Additional bolts fire every third shot, down from every fifth shot. Peak performance, added 20% updraft height. Forager, max life per hit increased to 8% up from 5%. Windwalker boots, added take aim bolt explosion damage reduces updraft cooldown by 1 second, but removed the 20% updraft height. They also removed 5% cooldown reduction, but added 5% ability power. Arrowweave Cloak, added restore 10% max ammo every 1 second while momentum is slowed by take aim. Cyclone, added 25 reduced explosion damage from extra take aim bolt. Moving over to Junkrat. Team 4 wants to help his ability builds, since his weapon builds are dominating. Hop Boom. Concussion mine damage upon landing after detonating concussion mine on yourself increased to 20% reduced effectiveness, up from 30% reduced effectiveness. Trap 2 Esquire. Removed arming time to spawn mini steel trap. The max number of mini steel traps was increased to 5, up from 2. Raining Lead. Frequency increased to 0.25 seconds, up from 0.3 seconds. Jameson Jumpers. Added detonating concussion mine on yourself reduces concussion mine cooldown by 15%. They did remove the 20% concussion mine knockback distance, and they added 25 health. Refreshing Radiation. Cost decreased to 9,000 down from 10,000, and the max life overhealth increased to 8% up from 5%. Overhealth duration increased to 5 seconds up from 3 seconds. Lithium Alloy. Cost decreased to 9,500 down from 10,000 and added 10% ability power. Rat Pack. Ability power increased to 10% up from 5%. Steel Trap health increased to 100% up from 50%. Charge Chompas. Ultimate charge gain now triggers on all ability damage instead of just the total mayhem damage. Spiked Gloves. The cost decreased to 4,000 down from 4,500. Thermal Trap. The cost decreased to 3,750 down from 4,000. Alright, moving over to support. Juno. She is getting her healing missiles back. Medicinal Missiles now heals an extra 30 health on Pulsar hit. And for Brigitte, they're trying to make her weapon power build more viable. Bullwhip, bonus damage on 360 rocket flail swings increased to 125% up from 100%. While for Righteous Cleave, the healing on the next rocket flail swing was increased to 125% of damage up from 100%. And that was it for the whole mid-season update. A rather substantial balancing patch again. Now tell me, what do you think about all of these changes? And what do you think about the Junkrat Mythic? Let me know in the comments or come tell me during my streams over on twitch.tv/DeemziesTV. See you there. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.